I've made a mistake. It's not fatal, but it's painful. I stupidly used I don't know what you call a wood cutter with the point, and then I thought, well, I'll make a hole and then I'll be able to cut a bigger hole to fit the spotlights. But cutting through this, I think it's 9mm ply, it's not easy. So then I went out and bought one of those, and it's impossible to use if you've already cut a hole. You have to use it with a drill bit. Oh, sorry for that. You have a drill bit sticking out, and you start with the drill bit, and that makes a hole, and that steadies the drill. And without it, it's impossible because it jumps about. So I'll be able to use it for the other side now that I've learned. But for now, I'm having to scratch away at it because it won't go through it properly, and you can't do a curve. So I've tried with a jigsaw. That's very dangerous and jumps about and bends the blade, so I'm not going to try that again. So I just had to go really slowly with this, and it's going to be a nightmare. It's really hurting my shoulder because I've got a rotator cuff injury, and so this is exactly the job that I should not be doing. I wish I was left-handed. It's that shoulder that is injured. Well, 3 hours later, or 3 days later, this is another thing you can do if you've made a mess of it like I've made a mess of it. You can just drill little holes, and then once you've drilled the little holes, you go in again with your drill, a bit sideways, in and out, and make the holes meet each other. I've got what do you call it? Noggin? Wood. 2x1, or no, it's smaller than that actually. There. And I've got it there, and there, and there. And I've got to get cables to connect from there to there. So you can't see it, but with the smallest wood cutter, I've cut a hole just so that it takes off a bit of the batten there, and also takes off the ply. So there's a hole there where I can push cable up. And I'm going to cut it away to the wall and then have the cable run along there, because that can be lost in the grout of the tiles. And I'm going to drill through, I could just chip away at the wall and push it through. And then it's only a small hole, it's right at the back. I can, when it's all done, I can fill it in and stain it the same colour, and nobody will ever know. And over here, for the other light, that light, the cable's going to go through, and I've cut a hole there, and I know that that goes all the way through to the void. And so the cable, one cable will come out here, and another cable will come out here, although I'm going to cut into that because board, oh no board's going to go, board is going to go onto that, so I'm okay. Come out of here, and they're going to meet here, and that's where I'm going to have the cutout for the switch. And then the cable's going to continue out of the switch. Oh gosh, sorry, oh dear, not this way. Continue out of the switch and go through. There's a little hole there, and that will go, and then along there and under the worktop and into the plug. Right, so I've got a hole there, and I've cut a little bit of a curve out of the plywood so that the wire can curve around. And I've dug into the wall a little bit, and I drilled into the corner there, and then from this side I drilled into the corner there. So I've got a little corner junction that I can thread the cable through. Now I'm going to wire up this light first, and I'll show you. That's long enough so that it can reach the switch, and long enough so there's a bit of extra length for if I need to pull the light down. There's a bit of length to pull through. And I'm going to wire these in now, just check you can see. Wire these in now. They are quite simple. You have to take off this, and it tells you neutral and live there. And the brown is live and the blue is neutral. And you just, it's got little openings there. You just take the plastic off, rubber, whatever it is, plastic I think it is, and you twist them, and you have to unscrew these first quite a long way, make sure they're fully open, and then put it in, hold it in, screw, and the other one, and then put that one in. It's really, really simple. And then you, once that's connected, you just push the cable in, thread that in, and fit it. These are the only ones that I could go for. I've scratched it a little bit. Nobody was going to see them really, it's just the light they're going to see. These are the only ones I could go for that I could find. I wanted to go for halogen. I don't think you can see me, so doesn't matter, does it? I was going to go for halogen. I much prefer halogen to LED. I think it's a much nicer light. LED is very, well, it's like what you get in an office, so it's a bit bright, but I'm only going to be using it for when I'm actually using this area. So it's going to be kind of focused light for cutting carrots or doing pastry or something like that. So the reason why I went for these LED rather than halogen, which is what I wanted, was because halogen creates a lot of heat and LED lights do not. And when you've got a wooden void, it could be in a shelf or in a floor with a spotlight, and they create a lot of heat and they can cause fires. So I definitely don't want to have to go through all this trouble again, renovating a house, burning it down, and then doing it all again. So these should be fine. Oh, I had to go for these. Then I knew I wanted to go for LED. I had to go for LED. These are the only ones I could find. I spent a lot of time searching for something a bit nicer, maybe in gold. I couldn't find anything. These were from B&Q. The reason why I had to go for these is because they're low profile. There's hardly anything there. It's really, really thin. And my shelf is only, I think it's 6 centimetres, well, inside. Internal measurement is about 4 centimetres. So I had to go for those. Right, something that I've realised is that because I'm using a metal box, the back box to go behind here, and a metal switch, that I realised that these lights are not earth. These lights are not earth because they are double insulated. The double box symbol means that they're double insulated. Oops. So they don't need an earth, and the wire that I've fitted, that I've connected them with, is the cable is a 2-wire cable. It's only got a live and a neutral, it doesn't have an earth. So I realised that it is potentially a risk with a metal box and a metal switch. Well, even if it's just a metal switch, it could be a risk. So I put some posts on Reddit to ask electricians, what do I need to use a 3-wire cable with an earth from the switch to the plug, and before I did anything, and they said yes, I need to use earthed wire. It's okay to use the 2-wire cable, I don't know what the proper name is for it, from the LED lights to the switch, but then from the switch to the plug I have to use 3-wire cable. And also I need to, I can't remember the name of it, but you need to put a bit of wire, a single wire with the plastic still on it, from the back of the switch. There is there, connect it there and there, and put a short cable wire to the screw inside the backing, the back box, whatever you call it. So that connects the two, so that if there's any electrics, it can still go down. It goes down the jump between the switch face and the box, and it can go down from the box down to the ground. So I've wired up my plug on, because I'd already put the 2-wire cable onto my plug. So I'm going to take it off, and I've got a broken extension cable, and I've changed the fuse on it, and it still doesn't work. So I'm just going to use this. I'm going to cut it off, and that's the plug part. That's a cable coming from one spotlight, going in to the void in the shelf, and along with this cable going into the transformer of the second spotlight, and this is going to go to the switch. And this is the cable from the plug. I don't know exactly where the socket, the box, is going to go, and I want it to go in between the mosaics, so it's nice and neat, so I don't have to cut any mosaics, because they're glass mosaics, they're not easy to cut, and they will look neater if it's right in the middle anyway. So I need to tile that first, and then I'll know where the box is going to go. But I want to tile the back first, get that right, and then do the side. So my next job is to tile the back. Before the tiles have dried, just go over with your hand and see if you see any of them wobble. If you see any movement, then say if that one was wobbling, see, do that with your hands and see if there's obviously something behind the tile, and you'll have to remove it. It might mean you'll have to remove a whole sheet. But if it's wobbling a lot, then it will never lie flat, and you'll always notice it. So you can always cut if you don't want to take the whole sheet down, and take it off and feel with your fingers on the back of the tile and on the wall. See if you can find a lump. Okay, so I've done this side, that's quite easy, and I'm doing this side. This is where the switch is going to go, and it's just four tiles that need to be left out, and they've got to be over this here, there. So when I get to there, I'll just miss out 4, scrape off the adhesive, and then tomorrow cut out the hole. I'm going up in 3s with this here, and I've cut off all of the little bits of plastic around the sides. Going up in 3s like that, because I have to squash it together a little bit this way and a little bit this way to make sure they go in. And so I'm doing it in 3s, so it's fairly evenly squashed. done this side in the same way as the other side. The 2 LED spotlights are in the circuit, but the cable from that one to that one comes out of there and goes into a chased channel, and then up through the hole at the back there, and then to the spot. And then the cable that comes from that spot comes along the chased channel, up the chased channel here, and down channel here. And this is the cable, the 3-wire cable. This is 2-wire cable. This one is 3-wire cable that goes down to the plug. So very similar to the other side, only there was a lot of cutting into the wall, chasing into the wall involved. So I plastered over, I glued the cable in with kind of no nails type glue, and then I've just put some filler over it like last night. So now I'm going to mosaic the walls. This is perfect for mosaicing because it's very sticky, but it doesn't dry too quickly. So you can change your mind, move things about really easily. If you need to squash up because there's not enough space when you test them out, there's not enough space to get them all in, you need to squash them up vertically and horizontally probably. So that's why sometimes you have to put them up in small sections and cut off the plastic around the edge to make sure that you can squash them up a bit. Just put them up lightly to start with, and then correct all of the spacing, and then you can push them on properly. One way to get the adhesive out of the gaps is to just brush it out with a dry brush, or keep wiping the brush on a cloth. You want to get all of the adhesive out of the gaps, or as much as possible, so that the grout has a better chance of going in there and staying in. Before grouting, to make sure you've got all the last bits of adhesive out, especially if your grout is going to be a different colour to your adhesive, you can use a wire brush, not too strong. You don't want to scratch your tiles. It's depending on what kind of tile you've got. So if you've got ceramic tiles, you probably best not use that and use something like a nail brush or a stiff toothbrush. But I've got glass tiles, and they're more difficult to scratch, so I can get away with a wire brush. most of the grout off, and it's getting quite dry, having rubbed it with a dry or fairly dry cloth. If the grout lines still look a little bit bitty with some holes or roughness, then put a surgical glove on and just rub over like this. And I've already done this pretty much, but that will smooth out and compact in the grout lines, and they'll be more likely to stay in. They'll be easier to clean, and they'll look better. Only takes a minute. This is my jumper. It's going to go from the box. There's a screw on the box and into there. And then the earth from the cable, plug cable, the power cable, will also go into the screw in the box. I'm going to use one of those to connect the neutrals together, which are the blue cables. Just slot one into one end and the other into the other end, and then you squeeze with pliers. These are actually jewellery making pliers, because I don't have my other pliers to hand. These are actually really good for getting hold of little wires, cables, thin cables, and poking them into the screw holes that they need to go into. It's my switch from B&Q. Oh, hello, that's me with absolutely no makeup on, looking a bit of a mess, but luckily you can't really see. Anyway, it's actually a really nice switch, and it's got a lovely sound. It's very Victorian looking. I really like it. It's very quite cheap as well. Right, so that's the earth. That's where the jumper goes. That thing sticking out is attached to the screw in the box. It's a metal box, so it needs, and this is a metal plate, so it has to have an earth. It has to be earth. So the jumper, this, which is just a little length of earth cable, goes to the metal box, and the metal box is earthed, will be earthed by, wait a minute, yeah, I've already put the jumper in to the switch in the box, and the earth from the power cable is already also attached to the same switch, so there's the two earths going into that switch, so the metal box is also earthed. So that's where the jumper goes, and this is where the power in goes, the brown cable. That's where the power in goes, so that's from the plug cable. The brown cable, the live, goes into there, and live has to come out, but that's the outlet, which is the lights. So the brown live cable coming down goes to the bottom, into the bottom, and the neutrals are connected together. I think you're supposed to use a little connector block, but I don't have any, so I'll just use that, it'll be fine. There you go. Well, I really should do my hair. Oh. That's better. So this is all connected up. Got the jumper cable going into the switch there, the screw there to earth the light switch. It's connected to there, and earth from the main supply. Well, it's on a plug. And I've got the live coming from the source going into the top, and the live coming from the outlet, the lights, going into the L1 at the bottom, and the neutrals connected together. So I'm going to screw it on and plug it in underneath and try it. That's it. All in, working. I'm going to change that socket for a gold one. So next job. Bit funny there, not 100% happy with it, but I had to have something there to protect the worktop. So I had to extend the splash back there, because on the other side it just goes straight down, because obviously the worktop's rounded off. But it's not here. So anyway, I've got rounding off here. I rounded it off with my angle grinder. It's actually really, really easy. A lot easier than I thought. I'm always worrying about these things, and then I find that the things are actually really easy. If only I didn't worry so much. So I've got rounding off there with tiles, and rounding off there with the worktop. So they kind of complement each other, don't they? I'm absolutely delighted with the lights. They're brilliant. I'm so happy with them. I thought LED, they might be a bit too bright, a bit too artificial looking, a bit blue or neon, but no, they're really, really nice. I love them. Really bring the tiles to life. Delighted with the switches. Really, really happy with them. They sound so nice. I'm going to change that switch plate for a nice gold one. You might think, well, but she's got a silver coloured hob and she's got all gold switches and things. Well, the fashion at the moment is to have a mixture of metals. It certainly makes life a lot easier. You don't have to worry about getting everything the same. So you're supposed to have one dominant colour, and then accent it with another colour. So my dominant colour is going to be, oh, you know what, I don't know. I think maybe gold, and then accented with silver, stainless steel rather. Anyway, really happy with that. It's looking good.